Hello again, Gooners. Well, we've got music again. That's a bit of a shock. It's a bit glitchy. Don't know why it's glitchy, but it's just one of those things. I always seem to say this, but the sticking with the word glitch. Not too many glitches in pre-season. I bet many of you thought that was definitely on the way. But not many of us saw a 4-0 victory against Chelsea on the way, let's face it. And yeah, definitely worth waking up at an unsociable hour to watch that game. Arsenal were magnificent, it's got to be said. We don't get a chance to say that too often, do we? So yeah, what else is there to say? Well, I'm not going to really talk in lots and lots of detail about the game, maybe because I was half asleep for much of it. But yeah, it was impressive. Maybe I'll talk about the game as I cover quite a few of the questions that have been coming in. 12 questions, all right? 12 questions. They're in a random order. You know I love to do things in a random way. So, yeah, and thanks for sending in so many. Well, here are the ones that made the starting 11, plus one sub. Okay, so the biggest question is, will Gabriel, the defender that is, go to Juventus? And my response to that is probably not, unless silly money's offered. Can't see that happening. It was interesting what Paul Merson was saying about the possibility of that happening. He said Juve are not exactly Barcelona, and they're certainly not Real Madrid. So why would somebody want to go to Serie A? Obviously, Tammy Abrams did and has done pretty well for Roma, but is Gabriel going to want to go to Italy? And it's not impossible, is it? But I can't really see Arsenal selling him. The defence looks pretty settled, keeping a clean sheet against Chelsea, and doing it really comfortably says a lot. Obviously, the defence, well, not obviously, but if you watch the game, you'd see that the defence started off with White at right back, and he's looking pretty comfortable there. Willy Salas playing right side of centre in defence, and alongside him, Gabriel. And yes, looking pretty solid, especially with Zinchenko in on playing left back from the very start. Wasn't even too bad when Tavares came in. Looked at times a little bit vulnerable, but not particularly so. So looking ahead, looks like it could be a good season. We don't want to get carried away, though, as Arteta said. So let's not get carried away by these great results in pre-season when the pressure's not really on. When the season starts at Palace, it's going to be a lot tougher. Clearly, even though Chelsea are a decent team, that they weren't at their best. But nevertheless, you got to give Arsenal a lot of credit for not allowing Chelsea to play their normal game. Okay, so that was question one. That's out of the way. What about question two? Will Jesus propel Arsenal into the top four? My view on that is there is a chance. You've got to just look at how many goals Arsenal have been scoring lately. 5 against Nuremberg, 2 against Everton, 3 against Orlando, now 4 against Chelsea. The numbers are adding up quite nicely in the goals for column. So you've got to say that Arsenal, if they keep scoring goals the way they have been, why shouldn't they be in the top 4? I'm quite honestly, maybe I'm getting over optimistic, but I'm starting to think top 3 is not out of the question. But I think the key is Jesus has to stay injury free because he's already picked up a knock against Chelsea. Their teams are out to get him. So he needs protection from referees, which in fact is one of the other questions, which I'll come to later. Okay, so talking of injuries, one of you asked, will Tierney and Tomiyasu ever be ever present in as much as will they play 38 games a season, league games? Personally, I don't think it's that likely for Tierney because, as I think I mentioned previously on this podcast, I heard, it's not just my opinion, but a lot of people think that Tierney's issues are not muscular; it's more skeletal. So can he be healed? Continually be healed? I'm not sure. He did play a bit. He had a bit part in the preseason so far. Did very well, but then he's been out injured since. Tomiyasu just keeps having these same niggling injuries. This calf injury won't seem to go away, and both players are really key players for Arsenal if they're fit. But the question is, will they be fit on a long-term basis? It's really hard to say. When you look back at the old days with Robin van Persie, I would have said he would never be fit. And to tell the truth, he wasn't fit that often. He had a couple of seasons where he remained more or less injury-free. We just got to hope for the same for Tierney and Tomiyasu. So the two players are determined to be fit. There's no question about that. But my issue is can structural damage, which Tierney may have sustained in the early part of his career, can that actually be, is that actually something you can recover from? I'm not too sure that's true. Tomiyasu I have more hope for, because with these muscular tweaks, you'd think if he gets enough rest, he should recuperate. So let's hope anyway. Let's hope both can play a major part in the forthcoming season. Well, what about the preseason? Does it mean anything? One of you asked. My answer to that is I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit. I will say yes and no. Obviously, there are some people, like my dad, for example, says preseason is totally unimportant. And I get excited by the preseason as a fan, but from a player's perspective, it's not going through the motions. Obviously, it's more fun than training, but nevertheless, the games are in a sense meaningless, because just because you're winning in preseason doesn't mean you're going to win when the real thing kicks off. However, I've seen managers get sacked for a poor preseason. Not at Arsenal, but I've seen it at other clubs. And if you're getting hammered in pre-season, for example, Everton, you got to question whether or not the manager's going to be sticking around for long, because it affects the fans. And fans put pressure on the club, and then the club's hierarchy start thinking again: is this the man to lead us forward? So luckily, that's not the case with Arteta right now. So far, it's been a great pre-season. Obviously, there is at least one more game to go. I can't think which one it is now, but it's coming up pretty soon. And then, of course, it's Palace. Anyway, moving on. So, will Willie Saliba or William Saliba sign a new deal? Been a lot of talk about this. I personally don't think he will. Not yet. I think he'll make the club sweat a bit. I don't think he feels he's been treated that well. He missed a cup final in France a couple of seasons ago. I hope he doesn't remember that. I'm sure he does, though. Last season, of course, he was supposed to be around, but then off he went to Marseille. But if he does start playing a lot of games from the start, who knows? Maybe he'll want to stick around at least for this season. And then, is anyone going to come in with a massive deal to try and take him away from Arsenal? I doubt it. So unless Arsenal recover the money they spent, which was £29 million, I don't see that he's going to go anywhere very quickly. He will certainly stay for this season, I think. Whether he signs a new deal, though, as well, that's a whole different ballgame. But yeah, he played pretty well against Chelsea. Never looked in trouble at any point. Looked very composed. So we've got to be pleased with his progress so far. Another player we're really pleased with, of course, is Bukayo Saka. And the question coming from the readership or our audience out there is, will he sign a new deal? The answer I've got to that is, I think he will, unless something absolutely terrible happens during negotiations. I can't imagine that Arsenal are going to mess this thing up. But then again, you never know. Let's not mention Ashley Cole. So who will be leaving? Somebody asked. Well, Torreira, clearly he's off. Bellerin probably. Wouldn't totally surprise me if he sticks around. Reece Nelson probably scored a goal in the preseason. Perhaps he's thinking about staying, but I'm not altogether sure he's going to be anything more than a bench warmer. So probably the same goes for Bellerin. So I'd expect both of those to go as well, providing a buyer can be found. So who is coming in? We obviously know Zinchenko's in. It's been announced officially now. He's got the number 35 jersey. Some say that means curtains for Tavares. I'm not sure I agree with that, because I think he's going to be Zinchenko's backup. Tierney's perennially cropped, so I don't quite see there's any need to get rid of Tavares. And additionally, of course, Yuri Tielemans may be joining the club, we keep hearing, but this has been going on for such a long time. It's a protracted transfer saga. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised. There's always one, isn't there? And all the deals seem to take a long time to tie up. We've got to be happy with Arsenal's business to date, though. There is talk, and it's only talk and rumour and speculation, call it what you will, that Shaq will leave should Tielemans arrive. I don't personally think that's going to happen. Of course, he stayed when nearly everybody seemed to hate him. So why would he leave now that he feels the love, as he puts it? Doesn't make any sense at all, especially as the manager, Mikel Arteta, or coach, should I say, head coach, rates him as well. It's taken us, or the fans anyway, a long time to warm to him. So, he's known for doing silly things in games, but he's doing it less frequently. So, yeah, okay, he might give away a few silly fouls here and there. He may get even sent off again. Who knows? Maybe he's learnt, though. Maybe he's like a vintage wine. But maybe I'm worried he's going to turn into vinegar and leave us with a sour taste in the mouth. I don't know. Vinegar has its uses. I would like to point that out, though. What about fish and chips? Where would we be without that? So, I don't know. Shaq is a sort of Marmite character, really. Some people love him. But now I'd say most people like him at the very least. So he's turned the corner, really, and I don't see any reason why he should leave. I'm actually agreeing with the manager now. I feel that he is, I wouldn't say essential, but it's good to have him around. It's good to have him playing. He's playing at pretty much the top of his game. So why would he want to leave, and why would Arsenal want him to leave? So whether Tielemans comes in or not, Saka has become somebody that the club can rely upon to some extent. Okay, question 9, is Thomas Partey good enough? This was a surprising question. I never expected anybody to ask me this. My response would be yes, he is good enough if he steers clear of injuries, a bit like some of the other players we already mentioned, or I already mentioned. It is a big if, can he steer clear of injuries? So far, he hasn't really managed it. On his day, he's one of Arsenal's best, but the question is, have injuries wrecked him already? I didn't think he played brilliantly against Chelsea. A few stray passes. He played well enough, but I think it was the rest of the team that really stepped up. I think Partey was, I hate to say it, but I thought it was a bit of a weak link. If there was a weak link, it was him. But he wasn't weak, he was just average. But we expect so much more from Thomas Partey because on his day, he's almost a world beater. So I'm pretty disappointed that so many fans are writing him off, even though I'm sort of among them in a way. Not completely in that camp yet, but I'm moving that way. So I think we've just got to wait and see. And the end of the season is the time to judge him, really. And what about the captain, somebody's asked? Who's it going to be? Will it be a good decision? Well, of course, it depends who it is. I'm expecting Odegaard will be the new skipper officially. It's a great decision if it is the Norwegian. He's not the kind of player who's going to pick up silly yellow cards. He will certainly lead by example, but he's quite quiet. He'll probably play every game or more or less every game. Dare I say, he's like Ozil for chance creation, but he's got Ray Parlour's work rate. That's a pretty good combination. So what's not to love? And of course, we've got to give credit to Arteta. He learned very quickly that Emery's 5 captains idea was a dead duck. So we don't want to go down that route ever again, do we? So yeah, hopefully it's going to be Odegaard. Will the new Fabio Vieira, question 11, thrive, or will his matchstick frame splinter under the pressure of the Premier League? Well, we haven't really seen him yet, have we? His foot's in plaster. That's not really a good sign. I'm not saying he's fragile, but yeah, it doesn't look good to me. He's from what we hear, he's got plenty of technical prowess. And let's not forget, stick insects can thrive in the Premier League. Patrick Vieira wasn't the beefiest midfielder of all time, but he was pretty strong. He's going to get tested, Fabio Vieira, in England because the crunching tackles are coming in all the time. Ask Eduardo, and more recently, you have to ask Gabriel because he's certainly Gabriel Jesus. He's getting a lot of, he's on the receiving end of a lot of fouls. Let's hope that Fabio Vieira is more of a praying mantis than a stick insect. Anyway, so the last question: do Arsenal get enough protection from referees? I did promise to answer that. My response to that is: have you got any more jokes? The red shirts are there for a reason. Covers up the blood, right? If Arsenal changed to white or whiter than white or even pure white, I reckon everyone would think Arsenal were the innocent team, and maybe Arsenal would get away with murder like a certain team that plays in white and is based up the road. So let's hope anyway that the referees will start looking after Arsenal. Certainly seems like the club are doing everything they possibly can to transform the team's fortunes. And so far on the pitch, it's looking good. So let's hope it continues that way. Right, I think I'm going to sign off at that point. It's a 15-minute podcast, nice and quick, short and sharp. And what else? I just want to play the music now that it's actually there, but it was there. Yeah. Okay. So just the drum beat. Okay, maybe not. Maybe the keys as well. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for all the questions. If you want to do another question and answer session, do let me know. Just throw your questions my way or send them my way, and me and whoever else is on the panel of one today, whoever else is on the panel will be happy to answer all your questions. Thanks again for joining us, and until the next time, adios amigos.